Hi, what I have here on the workbench today is a WANPTEK APS1602H switching power supply. Banggood provided me this unit for review. In its lineup, we have quite a few different models to choose from, and they differ by the maximum output current and voltage range. And the reason I wanted to review this specific model is because it has the highest output voltage, and it can be quite handy when testing high voltage circuitry. Of course, with output voltage as high as 160 volts, you will need to be very careful, as it can be very dangerous. Anyway, the mains voltage in North America is 120 volts. So to achieve the 160 volts output, you will need to have a voltage booster in the power supply. Now, the simplest way is to use a voltage doubler in the rectifying stage. In fact, you can use a full bridge rectifier circuit and do a little bit of modification to achieve this, and this actually simplifies the circuit design. As with the switch, you can easily accommodate both 120 volts and 220 volts inputs. And let me flip it over, and if you look at the back, you can actually see we actually have a physical switch for switching the different input voltages. So I suspect this is probably the way this power supply used to double the input voltage when the mains voltage is at 120. Let me actually show you the circuit. Here I drew the circuit using LT Spice, as later I will show you the simulation result. You can see here, without D3 and D4, we actually have a standard full wave voltage doubler. And in fact, this is exactly what it is. If you look at the simulated results, you will see that D3, D4 are actually not in use in this case. So why do we need D3, D4 at all, you may ask? Well, if you remove this connection here, so let's just cross it out. So if we remove that connection, you will see that we actually have a full bridge rectifier, and the filter capacitance is essentially halved because we have C1 and C2 now in series. So by adding a switch here, you can switch the output to be either the output from a full bridge rectifier or from a full wave voltage doubler. Quite clever, huh? Of course, we'll have to verify the design during our teardown, but this is the easiest way to implement this optional voltage doubling, as if the mains voltage is 220 volts, you actually don't need it to be able to output the maximum 160 volts. Anyway, this power supply can output between 0 and 160 volts with a maximum output current of 2 amps. Let me hook it up and do some measurements. And here is our setup. The meter is measuring the output voltage, and you can see that we're measuring directly at the output terminals here via these supplied alligator clips with spade connectors. And we're also connecting an array 37118 DC electronic load so that we can do the load testing. And this electronic load can handle voltage up to 360 volts, so that's not an issue. Of course, I just realized the sticker is still on, so let me remove that first. Oops, of course now I need to remove the knobs first, I guess. And we can reassemble the knobs. Alright, now we're ready to power it on. Oh my goodness, the beeping sound is ear piercing. I will have to open it up later and see if I can find a way to dampen the sound a little bit. Right now you can see we're recalling the memory location number 2, and that's set at 100 volts. The output is off, so that is standard practice. Now if we want to change a different setting, we can either press the memory location to recall previously set voltage, or we can set a different voltage and remember that setting. So let me show you that. For example, if we want to set, say, output, let's just say, I don't know, 20 volts. So let's come back here. If I press the voltage button, you can see we can actually cycle through different digits here. So that's kind of handy. So let me go back to, let's say, 10 volts. And we want to save it to memory location number 3. I just long press that. And now we have stored 10 volts to that memory location number 3. So you can see here, 100 volts, 10 volts. So that's how it works. Anyway, the operation of the power supply is relatively intuitive. You can see there really isn't too much to it. Let's now enable the electronic load, and let's take a look. Actually, let's enable the output first. So you can see here, we're outputting 10 volts, we're reading 9.96, not a problem at all. And let me set the load to 1 amp and turn it on. And you can see no problem. We're drawing 1 amp and the reading is still relatively close to 10 volts. Let's increase the current to 2 amps. Not an issue. Let's do, I think the maximum current is set at 2.2 amps. So let's do 2.1, 2.2. And let's take a look at the current limiting behavior. Yep, we can see that. Ooh, did you hear that sound? Let me put my microphone here. So when it's current limiting, I guess there's some oscillation there. Anyway, so let's reduce the current here. Now we're out of the current limiting mode and we recovered to 10 volts. So that's not a problem. Let me turn off the load and let's change the voltage to, let's turn off the output. Let's switch it to, say, 100 volts and we'll take a look there. And let me actually reduce it back to 1 amp. Turn on the output. And the reading is roughly 100 volts. And by the way, the reading accuracy of the voltage output is specified as 0.5%. So that is still within spec. Alright, so now I have set the load to 1 amp. Let's turn it on. No issues. And let's increase it to 2 amps. The fan hasn't kicked in yet, so we'll have to see if the fan is loud or not. But right now you can see the output voltage remains very stable. And we're drawing about 200 watts. So let's actually increase the output voltage again. So let me turn the load off and we're going to increase it all the way up to 160 volts. So let's do that. Oh, now the fan just turned on, but this is 160 volts, 61 volts. And unfortunately with this load we are not able to draw 2 amps because the maximum power is only 300 watts. So let's draw 1.8 amps. And let me enable the output and enable the load here. And you can see we are actually pretty good. The voltage remains very stable and the voltage is roughly around 161 volts. And now the fan, of course, kicked off from the electronic load. Alright, let's take a look at the power on characteristics at 161 volts output. And currently I'm not putting any load on, so let's take a look here. And that looks pretty clean. No issues at all. So let me enable the load and do another single shot. Alright, now the load is on. Let's enable the output. Whoa! So we definitely see some issues here. For whatever reason, you can see the current limiting kicked in, even though the current limit is supposed to be much higher. So let's actually turn the load off and turn the load back on. So interestingly, you can see if we turn the load on after the power supply output is enabled, we are actually able to draw the, let's say, 1.8 amps. But it appears that we were not able to do that if we turn on the output with the load on. So let's do that again. So for example, right now I turn off the output and the load is again set to 1.8 amps. You can see here load is on. So let's turn on the output. Yeah, you can see we somehow the voltage dropped to 143 volts. But if I turn off the load and turn on the output, you can see that's 161 volts. And we turn on the load again, we can draw that 1.9 amps with no issue. So not entirely sure what is going on. So for this test though, let's actually drop the current to 1 amp so that we can complete the test. And let's turn off the output and let's try again. So let me do a single shot and enable the output. And no problem. The characteristics of the output voltage is very clean. And let's do one more test, because I just want to make sure that's not because we're at the highest output voltage. So let's actually change it to 100 volts. I'm going to turn off the load here momentarily. And let's turn off the output. I'm going to adjust it to 2 amps. And let's see what we got here. Enable the output. Yeah, output looks fine. So let's increase it to 2.1 amps. We have no problem here. Okay, so at least it appears that the issue we saw was only when the output voltage is approaching the maximum. And let's briefly take a look at the current waveform. For that, I have hooked up a CP503 current probe. As you can see, that is on channel 2. So let's give it a go. And right now the output is on without load, so let's turn it off first. Okay, so we turn it on without load. So you can see right now we're at 500 millivolts per division, and the noise is already pretty high. So let's actually change the output current to 0.1 amp and enable the output. And you can see the output ripple is already fairly significant. And let's increase the output current to 1 amp. So at 1 amp, let's take a look here. So at 1 amp, the ripple noise is already at 1.8 volts. That's actually quite high. And let's increase it to 2 amps. The cursor is a little bit harder to see. So at 2 amps, the ripple actually reached above 2 volts. And that's not ideal. So right now you can see the noise is measured with 30 kilohertz of bandwidth limit. Of course, if I increase it to 20 megahertz, you can see the noise is through the roof. Anyway, that is the switching noise and the ripple. I zoomed in on the waveform a little bit. I don't quite like this. This is almost a combination of the ripple and also the switching noise, as you can see on the channel 2 here, and it's quite significant. Alright, before we take a closer look at the circuit, I just want to show you the voltage doubler configuration here. If you recall, at the beginning of the video, we mentioned that here we have the switch to switch between a full bridge rectifier and a voltage doubler here. So these two caps are the caps in series. And by the way, currently the switch is set to be 230, so that's actually the full bridge rectifier configuration. So let's power it on. Okay, so now it's powered on. So you can see we're measuring 160 volts thereabout, and that's the output from the full bridge rectifier. And remember this number. Now let me power it off. And let's switch it to 115 volts. So let's power it on again. And now I'm measuring the same 2 points here. You can see now the voltage output is 320 volts. So that essentially goes through the voltage doubler configuration. And here is our front panel controller board. As you can see, there isn't a whole lot going on here. Towards the bottom here, we have this TM1629C, that's our LED driver. And this chip here, that's the IP6525S, that's a charging controller. And up here, we have this microcontroller chip, that's a Nuvoton MS51FB9AE, which is an 8051 based microcontroller. And that's pretty much all there is to this controller board here. I'm actually quite surprised. The loud noise is generated by this tiny buzzer here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of foam on top of here to dampen the sound a little bit when I reassemble this unit. And here is our main switching power supply board. I'm not going to disassemble it any further as there really isn't a whole lot to it. It essentially consists of two power supplies, essentially the same layout as most of the power supplies we have done teardown before. So the smaller one, as you can see back there, that's an auxiliary power supply, which is responsible for supplying the power to the charging circuitry. And that power supply is independent of the main switching power supply, which you can see in the front portion here. Like most of the cheap switching power supplies we have done teardown with, they are all more or less powered by this same TL494 PWM controller chip. And here towards the middle, that's our main switching power transformer. And next to it, under the heatsink, that's our switching MOSFET. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So it's really a fairly basic power supply. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. I will catch up with you next time.